The Veil of the Abyss. Prologue. The depths stir. Fog draped the Celtic Sea, a shroud over Cornwall's drowned cliffs. 3 weeks ago, Thalara Corp's probe sliced through the deep, its beams catching a temple, stones jagged, carved with runes, skeletal grins, and sigils like stars gone mad. The structure stood as a testament to forgotten rites, its walls whispering of ancient hands that chiseled secrets into the rock. A dagger rested in a shrine, its blade pulsing faintly, alive with something vast and incomprehensible, as if the metal itself held the echo of a distant scream. The drone grabbed it, blind to the hum that echoed light years away, a vibration that seemed to bend the water around it. Shipped to Charleston, South Carolina, it sat in a warehouse vault among relics of forgotten wars, each artifact a silent witness to human folly. Dr. Felix Morrow, 50, a Scotsman with fevered eyes, studied it. His pen scratched Romano-Celtic sect, outcasts, summon something, not of earth, alien. The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of unspoken dread, as if the dagger listened. Act 1, Halloween Shadow, October 31, 2025. Charleston's docks shimmered fog-thick as duppy breath, wrapping the city in a chill that seeped into the bones. Halloween parties lit the city, masks, laughter, cheap scares echoing from cobblestone streets, lined with historic homes that seemed to watch the revelers with empty windows. Thalara Corp's warehouse stood grim, a fortress of steel and drones, its lights casting long shadows that danced like restless spirits. Devin Clark, 30, leaned on a crate, his Jamaican accent warm, twirling a Michael Myers mask. "Rhea, you think this'll spook 'em at the party," he grinned, the mask's black eye holes glinting under the harsh fluorescent bulbs, a blank face that promised silence and terror. Born in Kingston's hard streets, Devin was a horror nerd. Carpenter's Halloween his gospel, Myers his dark saint, a figure that resonated with the unseen dangers he'd known since childhood. Rhea Tate, 29, snorted, checking her radio with a practiced flick. "You late shift scare me more, Devin. Hide that before the boss flips." Her flashlight swept the vault's cold walls, illuminating rows of secured cases filled with artifacts that spoke of lost civilizations and buried secrets. In the archive, Dr. Felix Morrow hunched over the dagger, its twisting under his gaze. Celtic knots intertwined with Roman bones, and something else, like a scream frozen in stone, evoking a sense of vast, uncaring emptiness. "They broke every law," he whispered, his breath fogging the glass case. "Not Jupiter, not Cernunnos, something from beyond." His hands shook as if the air watched, pressing in with the weight of unknown skies. A clank metal on concrete cut the silence like a knife. Devin's grin vanished. He stuffed the mask in his jacket, heart pounding like obeah drums from childhood tales, duppies lurking, hungry for blood, their presence a cold hand on the neck. Rhea's eyes narrowed, her grip tightening on the flashlight. "That ain't no party," she said, her voice steady but edged with caution. The air grew heavy, wrong, like a void pressing close, suffocating the familiar hum of the warehouse with an unnatural stillness. Act 2, Blood in the Mask. The vault door hissed open, EMP jammers killing its locks with a faint electrical crackle that echoed through the corridors. Celine Vega, 40, slipped in with her crew, 4 shad in black armed with silenced pistols and dark web intel from ex-posts about a cursed dagger, their movements precise and predatory like wolves in the night. Celine, an occult smuggler with eyes that burned like embers, craved its power, her fingers itching for the relic that promised secrets beyond mortal grasp. "Find it," she snapped, clutching a tablet that glowed with stolen schematics, illuminating her tense face in blue light. Devin and Rhea split up, boots echoing on the concrete floor, the sound swallowed by the warehouse's vast emptiness. Devin rounded a corner, heart thumping, spotting Celine at the dagger's case. Its sigils flared, alien, alive, casting flickering shadows that danced unnaturally across the walls. "Drop it," Devin yelled, baton raised, his voice booming in the confined space. Celine's dagger slashed forward, cutting his arm with a sharp sting that burned like fire. Blood sprayed, hitting the Myers mask in his pocket, soaking into the fabric with a hiss that seemed to come from nowhere. A hum tore the air, low like stars collapsing into oblivion, a vibration that rattled the bones and stirred something primordial in the soul. The mask twitched, eyeholes blazing with shadow that seemed to devour the light around it. Celine staggered back, gasped for breath, her eyes widening in terror as if she glimpsed the infinite. The entity, born of a sex forbidden rite, blending Lemure's vengeance and Samhain's veil, awoke, its consciousness a vast, uncaring force from light years away, with no name, only an insatiable hunger for form. It scanned the mask, saw Myers, a silent hunter of sinners, a template for its alien will. Runes and skeletal forms crawled across it, a haunted thing now, pulsing with an energy that warped the air. Devon clutched his wound, pulling the mask free with trembling fingers. It felt alive, heavy as a stone from the deep, whispering of voids and bones in a tongue that scraped the mind. He slipped it on, driven by something deep and irresistible, the fabric clinging to his skin like a second flesh. His cut sealed, flesh knitting in seconds, the pain fading to a dull throb. A dread aura pulsed outward, 10 feet wide, freezing Celine in place, her muscles locking as visions of drowned priests with eyeless faces flooded her mind. Devon's baton struck, swift and merciless, and her crew fell silent as fallen leaves, their bodies crumpling to the floor. She fled with a dagger shard, lost in the fog that swirled like living smoke. Rhea ran in, gasping for air, her flashlight beam trembling. Devon, what? He turned, wordless, phasing through a steel door, shimmering like a broken sky, the metal rippling around him like water. Act 3, The Righteous Hunt. Dawn crept over Charleston, fog choking the docks with a persistent haze that clung to everything like a bad memory. Devon hid in his apartment, the mask on his table like a sentinel, its surface still, but its presence a constant hum in his mind. It whispered alien static, duppy chills from Kingston nights, evoking tales of spirits that wandered the dark, seeking vengeance on the living. He touched it, felt the power surge through him, a rush that made his veins sink. His arm was smooth, healed completely, the scar a faint line that faded even as he watched. The urge to wear it burned, an addiction like rum in his blood, pulling at him with invisible threads. The entity saw sinners, dealers, cheats, predators, as cosmic flaws to be excised, distortion the fabric of reality. Devon, scarred by Kingston's injustice, where the strong preyed on the weak, nodded slowly. Justice, not murder, he told himself, though the line blurred in the mask's shadow. He tracked a dealer, Jamal Shade Carter, to a dockside alley where the streetlights flickered weakly, casting pools of dim yellow on the wet pavement. Shadows cloaked him, near invisible, a duppy's trick that made him one with the darkness, his form dissolving into the night like smoke. Shade felt the dread, his heart racing wildly, seeing voids where stars bled and screamed in silence, a terror that rooted him to the spot. He froze, unable to run, his hands trembling as if gripped by invisible chains. Devon phased through a crate, a shimmer that bent the air like heat-off asphalt, and struck with precision. Shade fell knife clean, his body slumping against the wall in a pool of his own blood. Devon stood, mask glowing faintly, righteous fire in his chest. But the whispers grew, demanding more, their tone shifting from justice to something colder, more vast. Dr. Felix Morrow, rattled by the heist's chaos, met Maya Lynn 24, a horror vlogger, in a Charleston dive where the air smelled of salt and stale beer. Maya's X-feed was quiet, no curse spread, just whispers of the heist among niche forums. Felix's voice was low-edged with urgency. The sect broke reality, Lemur's Samhain, blood rites that twisted the veil. They called something alien, not a god. The dagger was their bridge, but it's lost in our world now. He stopped, eyes distant, the truth too vast to fully voice, a shadow of dread crossing his face. Rhea joined them, spilling Thalara's secrets with a steady voice. Nolan Bryce, the CEO, he's hiding what that dagger is. For profit, I reckon, selling it to the highest bidder. Felix's notes shook in his hands, pages filled with sketches of sigils that seemed to move if stared at too long. The sex ritual had torn the veil, and the entity wasn't here to rule, it was lost, wearing Myers like a mask, its alien will bending human fate. Act 4, The Fall. Devon's hunts grew fierce, each one a step deeper into the abyss. A trafficker fell in a dimly lit warehouse, his guards paralyzed by the dread aura, their minds flooded with visions of skeletal priests rising from black voids, their screams echoing in silence. Devon vanished in shadows, invisible till he struck, the darkness gathering around him like a cloak woven from night itself. Then a corrupt lawyer, throat cut in a dim office, where the only light came from a flickering desk lamp. Devon phasing through a locked door, with a shimmer that left the air rippling like disturbed water. But the entity twisted him further, its logic cold and incomprehensible. A dock worker, just a bystander caught in the wrong place, collapsed under the dread, his heart stopping from pure terror, his face frozen in a rictus of fear. Devon tore off the mask, panting heavily, sweat beading on his brow. "This ain't me," he growled, his accent thick with anguish, the words echoing in the empty space. He tried an Obeah prayer, learned from his grandmother in Kingston. Salt scattered in a circle, words whispered in patois to ward off spirits, his voice trembling. as he invoked protection against the Duppy-like force. The mask pulsed on the ground, unmoved, its whispers roaring back, pulling him with invisible force, the addiction clawing at his soul. Felix traced the temple's echo to a pier ruin, stones crumbling where the veil felt thin, the air humming with unseen energy that made the hairs on their arms stand up. "We end it here," he said, clutching a satchel of black beans and Celtic runes, his face etched with determination and fear. Maya hacked Talara's files on her laptop, her fingers flying over the keys, finding sigils matching the dagger, alien, not human, patterns that seemed to shift when she blinked. Ria's hands shook as she loaded her flashlight with fresh batteries, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. "Devon's gone. That mask, it's eating him alive, turning him into something from the stories." Devon hunted Nolan Bryce, phasing through Thalara's office walls in the dead of night, the metal bending around him like a dream. Nolan's guards froze, dread choking their throats, seeing voids that swallowed light. Devon's knife struck true, but a secretary fell too, caught in the panic, her body crumpling like paper. He ripped off the mask, eyes wet with tears, the weight of his actions crashing down. "No more," he said, voice breaking. The entity's pull was iron, relentless. He put it back on, shadows cloaking him once more, the darkness his ally in his prison. Act 5, The Void's Edge. The pier ruin stood under a moonless sky, fog thick as the veil itself, swirling like living breath from some unseen maw. Felix, Maya, and Rhea faced Devon Myers now, a silhouette in the mist. The mask glowed faintly, shadows writhing like ink spilled from a shattered cosmos, the air around him humming with a low, otherworldly vibration. Felix scattered the black beans in a circle, their dark forms rolling across the uneven stones, chanting Celtic words that echoed off the water, his voice steady despite the dread clawing at his chest like icy fingers. "It's not human," he said, his words cutting through the fog. "It's alien, lost in our myths, wearing Myers like a skin to hunt what it doesn't understand." Devon phased forward, a blur of motion that bent the air, his aura locking Rhea's legs in place, her breath catching as she saw Duppy faces twisted in agony, her grandmother's warnings come alive in the night. Maya swung a flashlight, its beam piercing the gloom like a lance, breaking Devon's shadow cloak with a hiss of disrupted darkness. He stood visible now, the runes on the mask pulsing with an inner light that seemed to draw from stars unseen. Devon lunged, his movements silent and predator-like, but Rhea, drawing on her own resolve, chanted a Jamaican litany against spirits, a prayer passed down from elders, words in patois that warded off the unseen, her voice rising above the waves crashing below. She broke free from the dread's grip, tackling him with a force born of desperation, her body slamming into his as they tumbled across the wet stones. The mask fell, skittering across the pier like a living thing, its glow flickering erratically. Felix struck it with a rune-carved stone, cracking its surface with a sound like glass shattering in a vacuum, the air screaming, stars collapsing, a wail from nowhere that echoed in their souls. Devon crumpled to the ground, his wounds healing slowly now, the rapid regeneration fading to a mere trickle, his eyes his own again, wide with horror and relief. "I wanted justice," he whispered, his accent raw with pain, the words hanging in the fog like a confession. The mask pieces pulsed faintly on the stone, the entity not fully banished, just subdued, its alien presence lingering like a shadow at the edge of vision. Celine watched from the hidden fog, her dagger shard glinting in her hand, like a promise of more to come. Her cult whispered in the distance, their chants a low murmur against the waves, planning another call to the void. The entity, light years away, yet here in the cracks, waited, its gaze fixed on Devon's scars, patient as the stars. Epilogue. Devon slipped into Charleston's alleys, a ghost among the living, fearing the mask's pull lived in him still, a whisper in his blood that grew quieter but never silent. Felix burned his notes in a small fire by the docks, the pages curling into ash, muttering, "Some truths are too vast, too hungry for our world." Maya stayed silent, her ex dark and untouched, haunted by the void she'd glimpsed, her fingers trembling at the thought of sharing it. The shard was out there, hidden in Celine's grasp, and the entity lingered, seeking a new face, a new mask to wear in the endless night.